Chill. New intro for you guys. New intro. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tuesday night, we're back at it, man. The boys are back, man. Welcome to the 95 North Sports Machine. We have a very special guest with us this evening, man. Talking training camp preview, the secondary at that of these beloved Atlanta Falcons, man. We have Joe Patrick of 929 The Game. Joe, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. It's my first time being on the show. I've tuned in on YouTube. So I think you guys do a great job, and looking forward to having a good conversation. You know, it's so funny because I feel like we're all just like, at our wits' end with the off season, and we're finally going to get some actual football and some data points to go off of here in a couple days.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Gentlemen, how you guys doing? Smitty, Chris, what's going on? It's been a while, man. We've done anything live and whatnot, man. It's been pretty dry, but we're back together now that training camp is just hours away, pretty much. And what are you guys feeling, man? What's going on?
Ooh, I'm about to say you first, Smitty.
Yeah, man. I'm feeling great, man. I can't wait for football to start. Y'all know that's my favorite time of the year. But Joe, man, I want to give a shout to 929 The Game for always supporting the sports machine. Shout out to Chris's boy Squid Billy, my homie John Freaky. They always supporting us, man. So shout out to y'all guys, man, for always coming through, giving y'all knowledge of Atlanta sports. We definitely always appreciate it. And also thank y'all to y'all out there in the YouTube world, man, who supported me while I was taking a break, checking up on me, man. I was good, man, taking a vacation, clearing my mind. You got to take a break from social media sometime, man. And 20th anniversary, and I definitely enjoy every second of it. So shout out to y'all, man.
Beautiful. Hey, man, I'm feeling good, man. Got to work out in this morning. Got to have some good lunch. Falcons football is about to crank back up as far as training camp. So I am very excited. Just ready to get it in, man. And, talk about this Falcons football, man. Shout out to all the Falcons faithful out there as we're going to be getting ready for training camp, y'all. Let's get it.
Let's get it. Let's get it exactly how it goes, man. Training camp just a few hours away. We're all very excited. But in all of this excitement, man, of course, Coach Raheem Morris, now the head coach of these Atlanta Falcons on his second stint with the team, but now as first-year head coach for these Falcons. So, Joe, I'll ask you, what is your expectations for Coach Raheem and his second time around with the Falcons?
So I think, I'm expecting good things from this Falcons team. I know that can sound Pollyanna-ish to say because of this team has been 7-10, and obviously last year was a big disappointment. If you look back at some of those 7-10 seasons, I mean, the first two of them were actually, I would consider like they kind of overproduced, but obviously it was a step back last year, and I think that's colored. There's been a narrative now around the NFL and around just not the teams necessarily, but the players the fans and the media, as like the Falcons are just kind of this team that is there basically for their amusement and how they're going to, screw this whole thing up. And I think that the draft of pick of Michael Penix obviously plays into that narrative a lot too. And so, I think that's the challenge that Raheem Morris has with this Falcons team, is turning that narrative around. And that's one of the reasons why the Falcons made the coaching change, was because they knew they had to do that this coming season. And I think it'll be an interesting work in progress for Raheem. And I say work in progress, not to kind of slight what the Falcons could be, but I think that, he's a coach coming into a roster that's been well built over the years by Terry Fontenot. And it'll be very interesting to see, what new ideas, what fresh ideas they have for this roster that I think that had all of our, hopes up so much this time last year. And then obviously kind of left disappointed by some of the things that transpired over the course of the season. So, but there's, such great potential when you have a quarterback like Kirk Cousins. And, I think, again, to go back to the Penix move, like that really, I think overshadows just how big of a deal it is to bring in a quarterback like Kirk Cousins, and to go specifically from a quarterback like Desmond Ridder to one like Kirk Cousins is the most drastic shift you can have at the most important position in all of sports. And so I think that really drives the potential for what this Falcons team could be this year. And you wouldn't want anybody other than like a real tactical kind of coach like Raheem Morris is to kind of be the driving force behind it all.
Very good, man. That's great, man. So I say this. Yeah, I agree 100%. I feel like the best of Coach Raheem is we're going to experience that, and this is probably going to sound all biased from what I'm saying, and rightfully so, right? It's a Falcons content. Who the hell cares, right? So I'm going to say it anyways, right? So no one has assembled, the amount of coaches that around the league, right? The Falcons. Well, Coach Raheem Morris has 26 coaches under his tutelage right now, right? The third most in the league. He's not playing around, man. He's taking this second chance, at being a head coach very seriously, man. I'm really excited for what Coach Rob is gonna show with the Falcons in year one as a head coach. I go back to just tribal knowledge of all the coaches that he's been around, right? Coach Gruden, Sean McVay, hell, even Dan Quinn, right? He's just going to take all that and in a big pot mix it together and just give the fans, reward us, the fans, exactly what this Falcons should have been, in years prior, which should have been a more complete, competent, ready to go team on Sundays, to what we were accustomed to seeing, right? We've been 7 or 8 years in the black, man, just bad times for Falcons fandom and for everybody, even you guys on air too, man. It sucks to talk about the Falcons in such a, negative way, day in and day out. I think that's probably going to start being behind us now. You talk about Kirk Cousins and stuff, man. Yeah. What a great opportunity now to finally have a gunslinger like Kirk Cousins to lead the helm now in Atlanta and show his show the world why he was worth $100 million. Let's just be real, right? So I'm excited for Coach Raheem. I think this second time around is going to be the best that's to come. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'll flip it to Chris. Chris, what do you feel, man?
Hey, man, I'm feeling similar to how you feeling. I believe Coach Raw is not playing around. It's the second time around for him. He's learned from his first stint back with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's learned from multiple coaches. He's went to the Super Bowl, had that taste of experience, got a ring. It's just, the best teacher is experience, and he's been through a lot. So this time around, he's not playing around again. 26 coaches, of course, bringing in different guys to work with the different skill players, having quarterback coaches, actual wide receiver coaches. You're hiring of Ike Hillard. I can really just see that Raheem Morris wants to have like this whole chemistry and a family type of environment. Everybody, it's an open door to him, and he's not going to mess around. You can already see training camp. He wants to have control of it. He doesn't want anything to be a circus. He's just doing everything the right way. Infectious energy. You can tell the energy right now just in Atlanta is different than how it was last year or previous years with Coach Arthur Smith. I'm sorry. You can just feel it. It's palpable. So I enjoy it, man. I'm really just patient to see what Raheem Morris has for the Atlanta Falcons and the Atlanta Falcons fans, man.
Facts, man. Facts. Smitty, what do you got, Smith?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with all you. I'm gonna just pick off what all y'all said. Starting with Kirk Cousins, man. I think going out and get a grade A quarterback for these weapons, I think was a must. And not only will that help the offense, that will help the team as a whole because they can control the clock, control the football while scoring points. That's a recipe for a winning team. And the way he put together his staff, and as he's been saying the whole time, being transparent and doing that, I think him being familiar with everybody on the staff, I think is a plus. He's not got to get used to anybody. He still has Jerry Gray. We're going to talk about that in a little while. Still has Jerry Gray from that defense, who was helping with that defense last year. That's the key piece in keeping his defense competitive and key pieces this offseason. So he's done his due diligence, done his homework, put together a very solid team. So now it's just time to put it all together, go out, help him gel, help him perform, and bring home that Lombardi trophy because I think we're closer than a lot of people realize. Like Joe said, with the last two seasons, with the first two seasons, they overachieved. But last year they took a step back because not Kirk Cousins, Arthur Smith couldn't stay out his own way. And that was really the same thing the first three seasons. He was here, couldn't stay out his own way. Bonehead calls, couldn't stay on the same page with the quarterback, couldn't help develop the quarterback. So now you have a quarterback that does not need help developing to go out would a brand new offensive coordinator help him transition to the NFL level of play calling? And I think it's all going to turn out well. And that has to do with the coach and the GM putting the right pieces in the right place.
Yeah, I want to give Raheem deserves a lot of credit for the staff that he's put together, and it's not just the guys that he was able to bring in, but I thought he was really smart about the coaches that he retained from the previous staff. That I thought that he would help contribute not just to what this new staff wants to do with this Falcons team going forward, but also just keep that connection with the players, right? So that you're not like in this kind of whole period of upheaval and everybody's trying to learn something new. You know, you've got even in some of the new coaches that are coming in, like a Zach Robinson, it's a familiar scheme, and so you know, with the quarterback who's coming in as well, so hopefully you know, they can just kind of pick up the pieces. And I do want to say also with Kirk Cousins, like it's not just like the way he throws the ball and the way he passes the ball that makes him successful. It's everything that he does up until that point, the way that he prepares, the way that he gets the offense as a whole prepared and ready to play. Like it's almost like a coach, like a player coach in a sense. And he's like kind of like almost like a conduit to the coaching staff itself, and being able to work out some of those problems that they're having, you know, in live time on the field. He can kind of be that calm kind of executive on the field that can help sort it out and get his guys ready to play to the best extent possible.
Agree. And one coach that doesn't get enough credit, and I think Alberto talks about this all the time, is Dwayne Ledford. He's put together he's put together one of the best offensive lines in the league, and they're one of the top ranked offensive line, and they're going to be key to the entire unit because, like I said, controlling the ball, running the football, play action, no huddle, all that. And one key guy is probably going to be Chris Lindstrom, a guy I've talked about for the last 2 years being a top offensive lineman in the league. Not only tackle, I'm talking about guard, center, any position on the line. He's number one in my book. So Dwayne Ledford, he just gives so much credit in keeping this offensive line unit intact for the last 2-3 years.
Excellent points by everybody, man. Excellent points. Real quick, man. You know, you talk about Chris Lindstrom, you know, and a valuable piece to this offensive line, protecting our $100 million man. But there's one guy out there that just doesn't seem to get off, you know, the Falcons wagon. You know, we don't want him on there, and that's Mike Florio. Hey, man, it is what it is. You've talked so bad about this Falcons team. It dates all the way back to the tampering situation. You coming out with these blind allegations of first rounders, second rounders, whatever. Pie in your face. It was only a fifth rounder, right? But now he comes out with a new suggesting that the Falcons will trade Kirk Cousins just after 1 year service. And I quote, I put Kirk Cousins over under with the Falcons at 2 years. He could be traded after only 1 year with the cap charge for the Falcons of $37.5 million for 2024 and an overall investment of $62.5 million in cash for one. A new team would get him at a base salary of $27.5 million for 2025. He says, yes, Kirk Cousins has a no trade clause, but if the choices are to stay and not play or approve a trade to get on the field, what will he do? End quote. Joe, what is Mike Florio's deal with the Falcons, bro?
I honestly think he comes
He's
across
a fan. He a fan.
That's right. Yeah, he is. He sounds like a spurned, like, you know, burned fan that, like, you know, who wanted Kirk Cousins back in Minnesota. He obviously, I think Kirk maybe, you know, at some point, I'm sure he did want to come back to Minnesota as well, but they couldn't get a deal done. They didn't want to do the long-term deal like the Falcons did with him. And for whatever reason, this is like kind of stuck up Florio's craw. And, you know, it seems like he doesn't like, he's not too fond of Cousins these days either. He'll, you know, kind of like, you know, give him these like backhanded comments and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, it's really like unprofessional, I gotta say. And like, not to like slander anybody, but like, I mean, it's just unprofessional. And like some of the things he was saying around, I think it was after the tampering, sanctions came down. I forget exactly what he was saying, but he was like throwing around. He was basically openly suggesting that there was more. The Falcons did more than the NFL looked at or whatever, without providing any sort of evidence and whatnot. And that's just like totally kind of unprofessional. So to get back to what he said, I mean, like, he's not totally wrong in that, like, it is probably most likely that Kirk Cousins is the quarterback here for 2 years, just based on the way that the contract is structured. That is kind of clearly a waypoint as to, like, they're going to check in 2 years and see how things are going. I think there's a chance he could be here beyond that. That would be if the Falcons are doing very well. If things are going exactly how we hope they're going, then he probably will be here for more than 2 years. But, and the other thing that plays into this, Falcons are in absolutely no rush with Michael Penix. And that's kind of the whole point, is to let him just sit and learn. And we've seen that be a successful model for teams. It just caught us all off guard so much when they initially went with the plan. But, I think everybody's kind of realized it makes more sense. And so, but I mean, there's nothing there other than the uncertainty of Kirk Cousins' injury situation. There's not really a whole lot to be concerned about in terms of performance on the field.
Agreed. I got to second that, and I'm gonna give y'all 65 million reasons why I think he's not going anywhere after 1 year. Who wants to pay $65 million? Just that simple.
True.
But when you talk about what he could mean to this team in the next 2 to 3 years, y'all got to remember, if things don't work out this year, we still got to draft next year to add on more weapons, whether it's offense or defense, and still have pretty much the same team. The only player right now I think that contract-wise is of concern is AJ Terrell. Outside of that, we may have the same team for the next 2 to 3 years. So if we end this season, say, like, just for instance, in a divisional playoff game, if you go in the next season with that kind of momentum, ain't no telling what can happen. So Kirk Cousins is going to be here at least 2 years, and I'm gonna stand on that. So 65 million reasons why he won't be going after one season.
Right. And then if he's playing at a high level, you're not getting rid of a quarterback that's playing at a high level, who's possibly getting you to the playoffs and everything. And then, just like Joe even said, I mean, he's pretty much a player coach as well, someone that's going to help Zach Robinson. They're really going to help each other. Dealing with this scheme and dealing with this offense. Who's to say that it's going to be a guarantee that Penix would be ready after 1 year anyway? So it's just outlandish, man. He's attention seeking, man. He's attention seeking. I'm gonna send Lamar Jackson on him again. That's what I'm gonna do.
Man, all this quarterback talk, man. And now let's start. We turn our focus into our attention to a guy that will be catching passes from Kirk Cousins this year. And as we all know, what Kirk Cousins did with TJ Hawkinson last year, 129 targets for the Vikings. I know a lot of those targets came while Justin Jefferson was hurt, but still, Kirk Cousins really relies on the tight end position as his security blanket. And the news comes out that Kyle Pitts he's learning two positions, right? The tight end and the wide receiver position, a la 2021, in a trying year where the Falcons finished 7-10, and Arthur Smith really couldn't get that offense going. It saw Kyle Pitts break, tight end records, finish with over 1,000 yards receiving. But the Falcons are going back to that metric. Now they're saying that he's going to be learning the tight end and the wide receiver position. Now, going through some numbers based off the 2021's alignment, 27% he was used as an inline tight end, 43% out of the slot, 30% as a wide receiver. Joe, do you see numbers like that, going up a whole lot more? I know that, as mentioned, tight end and wide receiver being learned, but now with Charlie Warner here, can the Falcons now use Kyle Pitts more as that big receiver? The one thing that the Falcons don't have on this roster is size at the receiver position. Drake London being probably the most physical one at 6'3" or 6'4". You put Kyle Pitts out there. That's a 6'5", 6'6" target for Kurt. So what do you make of Kyle Pitts in now year 4, learning two positions going into 2024?
Yeah, I think that I think that we are likely to see him play in a lot more traditional receiver roles outside of that kind of inline tight end role. If you look at Charlie Warner's contract, like that is a contract that you give to someone that you plan to have a significant role for a team.
True.
It's not major money, but it's $4 million a year for 3 years. So that's like that's a core player for an offense. And we have pretty solid evidence at this point that Kyle Pitts is just not really the guy that you want, like blocking half the time as like an inline tight end. And Charlie Warner fits that description perfectly. So that kind of solves this kind of a role for you, and it opens up Kyle Pitts to allow him to do more things. And I think that I thought the Falcons tried to do a little bit more of this at the end of the season last year. The game against the Jets specifically is one that comes to mind, where Pitts was lining up as an X receiver, but he was not really getting any separation. He was just kind of running these kind of stop routes, like 10-yard stop routes or dig routes or something. And he just wasn't able to really find that separation. What I think we're going to see from Kyle Pitts is a lot more of him. Well, we're going to, in general, I think, see a lot more kind of condensed formations with those the split ends and the wideouts, like really close to that line of scrimmage. And that gives everybody, just allows them to be more centered on the field when the play starts. So they have more room to operate to the outside and to the inside. So you're hopefully going to see Kyle Pitts get more opportunities for those two-way goes where defenders are not going to know which way exactly he's going to cut. And hopefully that will give him some more opportunities to create that separation that we didn't see last year. But, you know, he's obviously kind of, I would still say he's a tight end. He's got a tight end's body. And, you know, to me, he's a tight end because you see how he, like I said, against the Jets, like if you just line him up traditionally out in X role, he's not going to have a ton of success, but I think he can have a ton of success if you utilize him the right way that really kind of puts the most emphasis on his strengths, which is his ability, obviously, to separate when he gets those matchups that are good for him. So, I will say, guys, just from having watched some stuff in OTAs, the passing concepts that I'm seeing these guys run do look different, like in a really good way. Like you're seeing a lot more like drags across, you know, like spread out and you know, drag someone across while you have like, you know, trips going vertical to just like kind of clear out that space. And that's the kind of easy yards that I think we've all been frustrated that Kyle hasn't been able to get under Arthur Smith.
Yeah, and to add on to that, you know, that's kind of a staple of what Sean McVay liked to do on offense last year, was really focus on the center of a defense and really just pick them apart, right? And a lot of what he did also, which I would love to see Kyle Pitts do here, is a lot of pre-snap motion just to give time, Kurt the time to read the defenses, what they're giving, and get the bulk yardage or the chunk yardage for either Pitts or, you know, Bijan coming out of the backfield, whatever. But I think it's real key to, you know, just add that element to the offense, because like what Kyle Shanahan did with Julio in 2016, or even the fullback DeMarco, you know, used to spot just to see what the defenses were giving him. I think is going to be so key. And a guy like Pitts, who's, you know, looks well-rounded now. I mean, if you've seen his Instagrams and stuff like that, that kid's moving at an all-time speed, man. He's real sleek-footed, man. He looks fully recovered from his knee ailments from last year. So yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait, man. And he's gonna prove to be probably all the talk about him being the 4th overall pick might be finally put to bed now in 2024 under Zach Robinson.
And Berto, if I could also just add, you know, like I think that plays into Kyle Pitts having success. And again, this is not necessarily down to how well Kirk Cousins can throw him the ball, but it's about Kirk Cousins' ability to diagnose what the defense is doing and being able to fit, you know, just fit balls into where they need to go. And I don't think that Desmond Ridder, frankly, was able to, you know, process defenses and find those windows for Kyle Pitts over the middle. And I think that Kirk Cousins is going to be much more effective at doing that from a mental standpoint more than anything else.
Indeed, Joe, you just stole my thunder. I was going to say the same exact thing. I mean, no, but it's true though. It's absolutely true. He'll be able to fit it into windows and be able to lead the receiver. A lot of times the ball was like right there or behind the receiver to where like people can make plays. You know, they're not able to get like yards after the catch. And I mean, I like yards after the catch. I'm pretty sure you guys do too. So, and then in 44 games, you know, Kyle Pitts, he's amassed over 2,000 yards and 149 catches. I believe, depending on how the scheme goes and depending on the defense, Kyle Pitts can get maybe like half of that in one season. And I'm glad that you mentioned something about him being lined up at tight end, because he was only lined up at tight end 156 times, which is 22%, as well as lined up at tight end. But he out wide, he had 200 snaps at 29%. But here is where he got his most snaps, and that was in the slot. 339 snaps at 49%.
Let's go. That's what it's all about, man. Giving the stats, man. I love it, Chris. That's awesome.
And it all boils down to timing. When you have an offense in with the timing down and in rhythm, who's gonna stop you? And as I've been telling y'all, Kyle Pitts is a weapon that you can utilize. He's gonna help not only Drake London, not only Darnell Mooney, but he's gonna help Bijan Robinson the most. Because if he can control the middle of the field, guess what? It's gonna open up the run game. When you open up the run game, then Bijan becomes a bigger weapon. Because if he gets it going on the ground early, then what do? You put him in the pass game. So timing is everything with this offense. And that's pretty. Go ahead.
Just to add, just like with the way that defensive tactics are trending in the NFL, and this is just very high level, but this kind of Fangio coverage scheme is kind of taking over things where it's this kind of cover 4 shell. So you've got safeties and you've got safeties and corners kind of playing off of the line of scrimmage, and I would think that that's going to help Kyle Pitts more than maybe anybody else, because again, if they're featuring him on a lot of that underneath stuff, that should be the stuff that those defenses are going to allow more often than not, and they're hoping that they can just rally to the ball and make that tackle. But Kyle Pitts is such an athletic freak when he gets the ball that, that might be easier said than done when talking about him in particular.
Yeah, wow, man, it's some good stuff there by Chris and Joe. And Chris, to add on to your stat, that ranks 7th all time so far as far as tight ends with 2,049 catches since 2021. So I mean, for all the slack that he gets, Pitts is productive in his own right, because NFL defenses or defensive coordinators have to account for him in some way, shape, or form. I know last year he was very limited, but coaches were still dialing up ways to eliminate him completely from game plans and stuff. And I was at that Jets game last year, as you was talking, Joe. It was bad conditions. It really was. But you saw defensive alignments really shift towards Pitts when he started, motioning out or splitting out, and Arthur Smith, like Smitty alluded to in the beginning of the show, was just getting in the way of himself. He couldn't adjust. So, but I say that to say this, man. We expect the best out of Kyle Pitts, man, really this year. It's going to be really fun to finally watch this young man prove his worth. Because I know, it's cliche, right? A lot of the players say, we don't listen to the outside noise, man. I know that they pay attention. Right. They pay attention 100%. So I know that's got to get That's got to get to him in some way, shape, or form. But
he wants to get paid too.
Right quick,
So it's like,
hell yeah,
that's another. Think about it. It goes back to his rookie season. Now, I've been saying this as well. It was more Matt Ryan helping him put up those stats than Arthur Smith, because when Ryan audible at the line, he found Kyle Pitts more than a little bit. So I think Kirk Cousins is going to have to do the same, especially with a young offensive coordinator being his first time play calling. That's why I think Kirk Cousins is key. He's going to have to be the eyes on the field to help Zach Robinson, like I said, transition and bring him along. Once he gets caught up and acclimated to play calling, which I think will be around week 5 or 6, I think the Falcons will be in stride by then.
Man, I really, really hope so, man. I really do, man. Sky's the limits for these Falcons, man.
Smooth sailing starting off, so we can't start off slow, y'all.
No, I hear that, brother. I hear that. But you know what? This now we're gonna get into the nook and cranny of the things, as we call it out there, man. Joe, man, the secondary, man. We gotta highlight the secondary. So we'll start from the top, and we're gonna be previewing it all from the bottom throughout various series on our show, 95 North Sports Machine. Today, Joe, we thank you again for coming on to preview this, and we're gonna go right into it. We're gonna break down the secondary as a lot of people feel like it's still, a troubling or glaring spot or glaring holes in this Falcons secondary. But some news came out today regarding a certain defensive back in Jacksonville getting paid. And there's one of our very own that's waiting to get paid. I'll bring up the details. But Chris, I'll springboard it to you, man, because this was your topic, brother.
Yeah, man. So Tyson Campbell for the Jacksonville Jaguars is signing a 4-year, $76.5 million contract extension with $53.4 million of that guaranteed. Now, the thing that is one thing about this contract is just a little bit more than what L'Jarius Sneed had just inked with the Titans earlier this offseason. And also, Campbell has never been named to a Pro Bowl selection, but this is the contract that he's receiving. And I mean, he's another homegrown talent for the Jacksonville Jaguars as well. So I don't know if that may be factored into some of the money as well. But regardless, we got our own AJ Terrell that we have to do something with soon, because this money is going to start getting crazy. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
This guy has never made the Pro Bowl, and this is what he's getting.
And me and you talk, Chris, I was looking at the 17 to 20 range for AJ, but after that contract today, it's going to be 20 or above easily. He's a second team All Pro. He's a Pro Bowl alternate, so he's already inked his $20 million deal. Now, if he can add interceptions onto that, the number going to skyrocket to 25. So they better sign him before that trade deadline comes up.
Yeah, especially like hypothetically speaking, if AJ was to get like 4 interceptions this year, and let's say he takes one back to the house, ouch.
25.
Imagine that. Oh my God, man.
Yeah, I think it's probably like the biggest storyline, like as far as like off the field stuff goes for players on the team, is his contract situation. Frankly, I thought it would have gotten done by now. I was kind of predicting that it would, because I know the Falcons like him, and they want him long term. If I had to guess, I know this is going to sound crazy. I think that he's probably asking for highest paid cornerback in the league kind of money. And here's the reason why, is because the salary cap just went up $30 million per team. So the salary, that is a huge jump. It was bigger than anyone was expecting because of I guess there was knock-on effects from COVID that finally got caught up, and they realized they were kind of ahead business-wise from where they expected to be. So salary cap went up big time. They're expecting it obviously to continue to go up. But this particular kind of injection of cash into teams is what's making all these players go for record amounts of money. Like we're seeing headlines of that left and right over the course of this offseason. So I think Antoine Winfield, was like the highest paid safety now. Like everybody who's signing a big contract now is essentially at the top of the market. And I think that's probably what AJ is looking at. And it's not like he'll stay the top paid cornerback in the NFL.
No, because it just keep going up and up.
Keep going. But I'm sure that that's kind of what he's shooting for. And I do wonder if one of the reasons why the Falcons don't want to kind of get into bed with that kind of contract at this point in time is because of the change in scheme, where they're going from something that's man heavy to something that's a little more zone heavy, and maybe wanting to just kind of see how he performs in that role. Maybe I think potentially he could be an even better cornerback in a zone heavier scheme. But that's just like speculation on my part, because frankly, I thought it would have been done at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and another thing too, man. But just real quick, just because congratulations are in order too for AJ. But this is another factor. He just had a child. Like he literally just days from having his I believe his first child, if I'm not mistaken. So that's another.
It's his second child.
Is it second? Now, don't quote me on that. I don't know how many kids the man has. Like, but I'm just saying, but regardless, he just had one. So that's another thing you got to factor in too,
responsibility.
Man.
Yeah.
As a dad,
damn, Chris might end up wanting. If he stumbles upon this, then he's like, man, this guy's out here throwing my business out there, man. We have to come see you, Chris.
There on Instagram. I mean, for everyone to see.
No, I'm messing with you, man.
Everyone to see.
You're right. But I'll give my quick take on this. And like you mentioned, he might be suited better in a zone or man-to-man scheme and stuff like that. 2021 proved to be, if I'm not mistaken, his best statistical year at the cornerback position, and it was coincidentally under Dean Pease, who was a presumed guru in this league within that scheme. AJ had his best year. We're kind of transitioning back to that 3-4 system, and the way that Coach Rob played his corners last year, not loose but attentive to detail, and that's what I like to say that AJ is. He's attentive to detail. He does a lot of the fundamental things right. So, and this being a performance-based league, although he hasn't performed to the elite status, he has that year to hang his hat on in 2021, and he can probably go to the negotiating table and say, hey, this is the AJ that you're going to get from here on out. If we stay within these parameters, this scheme, this is what you're going to get. Of course, you got to put up a shut up. But I think he does have some sort of leverage at the table, and scheme wise and what he has done in the past. I know that he could probably hang that over the Falcons' head. So we'll see. I'm with you, Joe. I felt like AJ would have been already taken care of, and like you mentioned too, the Falcons probably don't want to go to bed with that contract. There's a lot of teams, and that infusion of cap money has made teams just spend money crazy, right? A lot of people resetting the market and stuff like that. But as conscious as Terry has been with his money, he hasn't been loose with it or anything like that. He's got to learn from past bad contracts that this team has handed out. I hate to put the blame on Thomas Dimitroff, but when Terry got here, he was fixing a lot of what Thomas did that was wrong, and it saw us break marks as far as dead cap situations and stuff. So, this might drag out a little bit more. We who knows? We might get a contract extension before the season starts. Is that Uncle Steve on him?
That's Uncle Steve. but that goes back to what I said, Berto. That goes back to what I said last year. If they traded AJ at the trade deadline, I would not be surprised, because if you don't want to pay him that kind of money, get something out of it. Hey. That's how.
Yep, hey, that's true too, man.
I mean, the Falcons' schedule is like front loaded with the toughest part of the schedule is right up at the beginning, and so I mean, if things are going sideways for them, that could definitely be an option for sure.
Yeah, man. The first 3 weeks, man, he's better he better be real light on his feet, man, because you're talking George Pickens. To the who's over in Philly, the track stars over there, Devontae Smith and Jesus, who's the other?
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown, yeah, AJ Brown, and then of course you got the track team with Kansas City. So yeah, AJ, you buckle down, brother, because it's going to be a tough one for you. But as we mentioned, we're previewing the secondary, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up the depth chart for our Atlanta Falcons.
Oh yeah,
and then we'll go from there, folks. Here we go. As we see it there, we just talked about AJ Terrell. On the right side, Clark Phillips the third, man. And in a trying season last year where the Falcons tried to create their own shutdown tandem, as we all know, we traded for Clark Phillips the third out of Detroit. That really didn't pan out the way the Falcons hoped for. Obviously, Jeff Okudah now plays for the Houston Texans. Atlanta Falcons let him walk in free agency. Penciled in is Mike Hughes at the nickelback position, which I feel like that should be a flop. And then, of course, the eliminators here, I like to call it like that because the safety tandems are, our last line of defense. Jesse Bates the third and DeMarco Hellams, which I know it says DeMarco Hellams, but Richie Grant and him are going to be in battle and in some sort of competition to see who comes out on top. I'm going to take my hat and say is DeMarco Hellams, but I want you guys' opinion and thoughts as you feel this secondary is going to shape out for these Atlanta Falcons. I'll start with Joe.
Okay, yeah. It's kind of funny because usually when you have these kind of camp battles in the secondary, it's like you got your corners and then it's your nickel. It's like who's fighting for that nickel spot. And what's kind of funny is outside of AJ Terrell and Jesse Bates, I think the person we're most certain about is that D. Alford is going to be this team's nickelback. In most circumstances, there could be times where they use Richie Grant as like a big nickel with like a 3 nickel package, which they experimented with a little bit last year as well. But as far as the corner opposite AJ Terrell goes, I think it will be Clark Phillips. Like I think that he's the one I would slot in as the starter come week 1. I don't like the coach answer right now is that there like kind of is no starter and it's a full on competition, but I just think that he's going to win that battle. I think that Clark Phillips is in this scheme again going to be able to showcase his ability, his kind of quick twitch reactions and playmaking ability. He actually showed it last year, frankly, on scout team. He had some picks in training camp and really impressed people. The size is an issue with him. That's the only thing, and I think that the Falcons have to work out how they would actually go about handling size mismatches, because you will run into teams who are going to try to exploit that to the best as possible. And if that's the case, are you having AJ Terrell travel with guys, or are you flipping them around to try to keep Clark Phillips off of bigger receivers? So they've got some things to work out there, but as long as they can do that, and I kind of have the feeling that they coaching staffs generally find out a way to get their best players on the field most of the time. And I think that Clark Phillips is one of those guys. So I would expect him to ultimately win that battle. But I actually heard Torrey McElwain talking about it today on something the Falcons put out, saying that it's probably going to be one of those battles that extends into the season, which I actually totally agree with too. It's like one of those things where they're going to keep on getting rotations and reps throughout, the first month or two of the season. And you don't really, like coaches, you don't really settle in on something until that kind of back half of the season. I feel like that's really when you kind of hit your stride, you find some continuity in the team, and you kind of go from there. And so it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. But I have faith in Clark Phillips, man. The size is an actual thing that people need to be considering here. But I think that some of the big plays that he's capable of making makes that size mismatch maybe something that you feel like you can live with.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. Agreed.
Hey man.
Sorry, Chris. Sorry.
No, I was just about to say, no, I just second that, about Clark Phillips, I believe. I mean, he can't do anything about growing any taller, but he did gain some size on him from pictures that I'm seeing of him. Looks like he's got a little bigger rookie season, so maybe he'll be able to win at the line of scrimmage a little bit more, maybe jam some guys if he's asked to do that. But honestly, yeah, I believe it will come down until maybe the last day of training camp, almost something to where we were seeing the center position a couple of years ago, being that battle with Matt Hennessy and Drew Dahlman, and they're rotating guys out different days and everything. You may see something like that. Who knows? But I have faith in Clark as well. I think he may have a little Brent Grimes in him, so maybe
maybe he's a
little feisty and everything, and he can get after some of these top guys, man, and maybe a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. So it's true, Chris. I agree with you, man. I mean, Coach Rob mentioned in a March presser that Clark Phillips has elite movement, right? And that's a lot of what we saw in Utah. Great breaks on the ball, always around the ball, has a knack for making the plays and whatnot. And it's exactly what Clark Phillips, when given the opportunity, he stepped right in. And, he had one bad game that I think we all remember. It was against the Arizona Cardinals. But other than that, he's played relatively clean, man. And now with, Coach Ra and a member of the coaching tree that we'll get into very shortly with Jerry Gray here, I think these gentlemen can maximize his growth and his potential at Clark, at cornerback number 2. My only concern is the depth behind him. As we see, it's Antonio Hamilton Sr., a gentleman that we got from the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, I know there's some big names out there still in free agency. Stephen Gilmore, is one of them, but I don't think that Stefan's going to come in here in Atlanta if he's not going to be guaranteed an opposite side job, AJ Terrell. I just don't see that. Maybe a lower bargain free agent, maybe just to round out the roster. But I'm comfortable with AJ Terrell and Clark Phillips as the starting tandem. I'm with most people. I'll go out on a limb and say I don't even think Mike Hughes makes the team, man. I think he's going to be a guy that gets cut, and it's going to be not due to performance, but I think it's going to be due more to just salary cap implications. 2 years, over $10 million. Falcons can save probably $3 or $4 million if they release him. D. Alford has put in work, and to Chris's point, it's on IG. He puts everything out there, so the guy is really putting in a lot of work. I'm comfortable with that trio right there with the cornerback position. Again, it's just bringing possibly another piece in, unless one of these guys that we see here, I don't know, a Jaden Price or Antonio Hamilton Sr., really, really step up. Hell, even Natron Brooks maybe step up and just take that huge step forward in their development to, just catch the eye of this coaching staff. While with corner, I'm good. Safety's probably the most problematic spot on this Falcons team, and I know that a lot of the Falcons.
Go to the safeties.
Go ahead, Smitty. Yep.
I just gotta say, man, I've been on the Clark Phillips train since the beginning. I actually watched him a lot at Utah, and a lot of what he did at Utah, his playmaking skills, I saw it last year. He missed the first 5 games of the season, but when he finally got on the field, he showed why he belonged. One name, and Joe probably can verify this. D. Alford, another one of the guys I've been, watching his whole career. I think he's going to be another guy that can also play outside the slot. But Antonio Hamilton is one of those veterans that you're gonna have to keep an eye on because he's a bigger corner. He's the last 2 years in Arizona, he started to make a name for himself. That's probably why he got a new contract because he got more playing time, he got more starts. So now you have a reliable veteran behind Clark Phillips. So if Clark Phillips falls at any point in this season, you bench him, you let him learn and catch on. Then you probably can bring in Hamilton for a game or two until he catches up. But one thing that I think, and a lot of people may not agree with it, but Trey Flowers, a guy we lost in the offseason. I think his versatility in the secondary meant a lot to this team. But I think they've done a great job in bringing in more talent, but move on with the safety because I know Richie Grant's name is going to come up. God forbid.
Yeah. He's going to be featured here. He's going to be featured, right? So, he's going into his 4th year, former 2nd round pick. What can Coach Rod do to salvage this young man's career, right? We have the great Jerry Gray in the secondary, and even if as much slander and slack that we might give this secondary, this is a Falcons team that finished 8th in pass defense last year, only giving up 202 yards per game, only 24 touchdowns over the air. So they worked with what they had, obviously, right? And can they maximize a little bit more out of these talents? It could be, and Richie Grant could probably be salvaged, right? But the only thing that has a lot of red flags on Richie is his coverage ability. He was graded out by PFF with a 42% grade last year, which doesn't sit too right with the Falcons faithful. That's what saw and opened up the door for DeMarco Hellams to see some action down the line, and he didn't disappoint. DeMarco Hellams is a thumper. He was pretty good in coverage as well. That pretty good in coverage and being a hitter, only missed 3 tackles in his time starting. Really opened up the eyes. That's why I see that DeMarco is penciled in as the starting safety opposite side, Jesse Bates. But what's to make of the Richie Grant problem, Joe? Do you see him as a does he make the squad, or is he just going to be an uphill battle all training camp battling DeMarco Hellams?
Well, I don't know how it's going to play out right now. I'll say a couple of things. One is that I feel like a lot of people are fully on the DeMarco Hellams as the starter because of the bad memories that, frankly, we all have of seeing Richie Grant last year. And it's not like it was all bad, but the bad memories were because he was giving up, 3 or 4 explosive plays that we all, can kind of remember.
Yeah.
And even some of the things, some of the stories from, like, for example, against the Cardinals when Trey McBride kind of said after the game that he was like looking for that matchup and things like that. Like, that's tough. That's tough. But, I don't want to completely write off Richie. And I also think, I don't know if Hellams is as sure of a thing as a lot of people are talking about. He still has a pretty small sample size of plays in his career. I think that it did feel like his play felt a little bit more like predictable in a good way. Like you kind of knew what you were going to get out of him. Like you were talking about Berto with just kind of those fundamental things that he's capable of doing. He's not going to blow you away with coverage skills, but you kind of, he's reliable in a way that Richie Grant proved that he frankly wasn't in moments when you needed him. But DeMarco Hellams wasn't in some of those situations that Richie Grant was, and who knows how he would have fared in that situation. So I do think it's still going to be a battle. I do think if Hellams wins this job, and especially if he wins it resoundingly, if the team would look to potentially trade Grant for maybe honestly some of the same reasons you mentioned with Mike Hughes, which is that you could just save a little bit of money. The team did something like this with Jalen Hawkins a couple of years ago, a safety that they had, and he just kind of fell out of his position as a starter, and they dealt him. I think they dealt him. Maybe I think they actually just released him, but just to save the money. He ended up in LA. But anyways, that could be on the cards. It just depends on how they want to go about these things. They might want to keep Richie Grant because he's a player who has been effective when he plays down kind of in the box close to the line of scrimmage. And so if, against, some 12 personnel packages that opponents are throwing at you, if you want to go with a 3 tight end like more of a bbig nickel instead of a base package in some of those situations, then he could be an option that you go to. But I think it's just frankly a wide open competition. I feel like a lot of people are penciling Hellams in, and like Grant has basically lost his spot, but I think it's a lot closer than that at this point.
Yeah, agreed on that about it being a lot closer than that. I definitely agree with that though. Yeah. Hate to say it, but I do. Hate to say it,
also,
but I do.
one other thing, like, this is not safety related, but I was just listening to a podcast with Robert Mays. I can't even remember what episode it was to direct people. He was talking about how he had just been in Atlanta. I think this was for an interview that he did with Raheem Morris that was posted on the Athletics NFL show. And he was saying that he had talked to people down there who just really liked Antonio Hamilton as like a depth cornerback piece, as just like a veteran guy, essentially. Like, I think that's why he was brought in, to just kind of be that kind of steady presence in the secondary, especially, that's knows he's not probably going to play a ton, but is going to be a core special teamer and just like kind of one of those glue guys that you kind of need down the roster.
He may beat out Mike Hughes. You never know.
Yeah,
he may beat him. You never know, man.
Why,
I mean,
that's exactly why I said. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just saying, yeah, and hometown kid.
Yeah, that's exactly why I said I could see him getting spot starts this year. That's what he did in Arizona. He actually got his first couple of interceptions in the last couple of years. So he got a ton of playing time, more experience. So that's going to help AJ down the road. So if Clark Phillips or D Alford slip a little bit, hey, like I said, you can sit him down for a while. He can come in spot start.
Yeah.
And trust me, with big receivers in this league, he may get starts anyway, depending on who they're playing on Sunday. So
yeah.
Right. And Richie Grant, man, I think the thing is about Richie, like you were saying, Joe, the plays that he gave up were big, man, and it just seemed like he was taking like some of the wrong angles. I would love to play him in a game of one-on-one in basketball because I got something for him. But outside of that, though, it's just like, seriously, that's normally what it was, man. Well, I'm just being honest.
It wasn't even last year. It wasn't even just last year either. Do you guys remember against the Bengals in 2022? He kind of like slipped, gave up a big play early in that game, and then things all went downhill from there.
Yeah.
And ice skates that game.
He sure was, man. He definitely was. So, exciting because we get to finish off the show, Joe. We know that you have to leave very shortly, but we can squeeze in this last question, and it's coach related. A lot of great players, a lot of great talent in this Falcons team, and primarily also in the secondary, AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates III. But it's the coaching aspect of it too, man. So a guy like Jerry Gray, here in Atlanta, trying to coach up a Clark Phillips III and Antonio Hamilton, as Smitty mentioned, A.D. Alford. How important do you feel Jerry Gray's second year with the Falcons is going to be now with first-year head coach Jimmy Lake? I know he's probably going to rely a lot on what the Jerry Gray has to say. So, the importance of Jerry Gray, in your opinion?
I love Jerry Gray. He's one of my favorite coaches to listen to speak in his weekly press conferences, which he gets to do because he's got a title of like head coach / defense, I think whatever it is. And so we get to hear from him every week, and it's really interesting to hear the insights of a guy who's got like kind of firm control over kind of coordinating the secondary in particular. And just as a person, like, he has some really interesting insights that come from his depth of experience as a player and having coached for so long and coached in some really at some big programs. The Packers obviously is, where he came from. And he's had, even some interesting things to talk about with regards to like the way it feels when you're in the Packers facility, the kind of expectations like you feel like you have on you as a player, as a coach, and then trying to translate some of that to Atlanta, some of that kind of winning heritage that a program like that has to Atlanta, and try to, impart on these players, just what they have to do to be successful. And I would say he's a positive guy, but he's also very honest, I feel, in what he communicates to the players. And he just gives them, like, that's where the positivity comes from for me, is he gives them very clear, things that they need to do, things that they need to work on, what they need to accomplish if they want to, be a starter, make the team, that kind of thing, whatever their goals are for that individual player, whether you're AJ Terrell or whether you're Natron Brooks, And so, he just has a lot of attention to detail for all those players across the board, and just, again, has that wisdom that you just can't get if you're, you just have to kind of be of a certain age, frankly, and having seen and done so many things in the game, which he has.
Speaking of age, I'm going to throw out a name right quick. And I know you remember it, Joe. Nate Clemens. He coached him in Buffalo.
Yep.
As soon as he left Buffalo under Jerry Gray, he went straight downhill, never bounced back. So that lets you know Jerry Gray knows what he's doing. He's going to get the most out of these young guys. And even the guy we named earlier, Antonio Hamilton.
Right.
He can coach veterans. Trust me. He's a good coach. So he was the key to me in keeping this defense intact another season at least. Yeah, we know what's his name went down to Jacksonville. But trust me, Jerry Gray had a big hand in helping him develop that defensive line, that pass rush. Trust me on that.
We're talking about somebody that has meant something just about everywhere he's been. You know, if we date back in 2010 when he was with the Seahawks and they beat the Saints that year in the wild card round. He was on that team, you know, when Marshawn had that monster run and everything. He was the defensive back coach there. He was defensive back coach with the Minnesota Vikings back in 2014. And I know they won the NFC North twice and went to the NFC Championship game. Then, of course, we know what happened with the Green Bay Packers. And now he's here still with the Atlanta Falcons, helping us build our secondary, build our chemistry, and just build our foundation, man. It's just wonderful to have Jerry Gray. And we're very grateful that we
Go ahead, Joe.
Retain him.
Yeah, and just to kind of like offer an anecdote, you know, this player's not on the team now anymore, but Jeff Okudah would talk about how last year, you know, he's coming off his Achilles injury. He's still trying to find his, you know, get his best football going. And he said that he would just like go into Jerry Gray's office early in the morning at like, you know, 6 a.m. before, you know, a lot of players had shown up and just hang out, have coffee, you know, and talk for an hour. And that kind of shows you the kind of coach that Jerry Gray is. You know, he'll make time for players like that, and not even just make time. I think he's very happy to, you know, have that kind of personal connection, that personal relationship with the players, to kind of help them get through in their own heads, you know, what they need to be doing on the field, but then just like, you know, kind of clearing some of those mental hurdles that they might have that's maybe preventing them from performing how they have in the past, and how they can help get to, you know, the player they want to be. So I just can't say enough good things about Jerry Gray, man. He's one of the best. And I would really encourage fans, you know, they put during the season when they put those press conferences on YouTube, just look for Jerry Gray's, because usually they're like, you know, a lot of these coaches, they speak so academically. They're very long-winded oftentimes because they're trying not to say anything, essentially. And Jerry Gray will just kind of tell you how it is. You know, he's just like, he's not really kind of guarding himself much at all. And it's really cool. It's really good insights for people.
And just a snippet to look into what has happened into Green Bay, a secondary that finished no worse than 11th ranked. The Atlanta Falcons have Justin Hood, who coached with Coach Jerry Gray in Green Bay, now as an active member of the staff, rounding out that secondary coaching staff. So hopefully, you know, great things are to come here in Atlanta and kind of put some of the secondary woes to ease, man. But we're coming up to the 9 o'clock hour, and Joe, we can thank you enough for coming by and previewing and just talking good old Falcons football, man. I really appreciate the opportunity to collaborate with you. It's been some time coming, and I'm finally, you know, at first I was like, I got to reach out to Joe, man, and let's see if we could get him on. And I was, you know, happy to know that, you know, you agreed to come on. So thank you so very much again. And please let the folks know where they can find you on your socials. And yeah, man, we'll go from there.
Yeah. Berto, Smitty, Chris, it was great to be on with you guys. Frankly, I said, I've watched the show in the past, and I hope we can do it again in the future.
Absolutely.
Here sometime. Love talking to you guys, to everybody.
We'll talk some Braves next time.
Yeah. And thanks for having me on. You can just follow me at JPatrick200 during training camp, right? Fans are not going to be able to be there, which sucks for everybody. I think it sucks for the players. It sucks for me. I like to just kind of just people watch, and, you know, I was hoping to get to say hi to some of you guys out there. Maybe we will for the days at Seconder or Mercedes-Benz or whatever. But you can just, you know, 99 The Game is going to have you covered for tons of coverage. So definitely just check them out whenever you're in your car or whatever. We just had a meeting about it this week. It's like, it's football season, and we're all really, really hyped for it. So can't wait.
Awesome, man. Awesome. But Joe, thank you again, man. Thank you so much, and be safe at training camp. And man,
sir,
give us some juicy details afterwards, man. Let me know what you see. What you see, man.
I'm gonna start hydrating now for the.
No doubt. But thank you, man. Appreciate you so much, man. You have a great one, man. Take care, brother.
You guys too. Cheers.
Thank you. Alrighty.
That was
Joe Patrick. Joe Patrick, 929 The Game, man. And folks, man, for those that are still watching, man, please look out for some of these feature collaborations down the line, as we have a slate of you
Hey,
know,
we got
guests that are coming
before
on, man.
before
Oh,
we
we
get out of here,
can
man.
going. Let's do it.
Before we get out of here,
What you got?
We got a big announcement, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You want me to break the news, or you? Oh, you
Yeah,
got,
go on and
as
do
you
it, man.
say.
No, you got it. You got it.
Oh man. So if folks, if you joined us at the beginning of the stream, man, we previewed a brand new intro. That new intro is going.
So you got to hit him with it again because it's so
Yeah,
dope.
it's
But,
so dope.
this is our big surprise, man. Go ahead and
Right.
run it
So
again.
I'll run after what I have to say. I'll run the trailer again, but we're expanding, of course, as we all know. Myself, Smitty, Chris, we've been rocking as a trio for quite some time now, and we will be putting together a brand new platform, a brand new channel. So for everybody that follows me at 95 North Falcons Talk Show, Smitty, at Smitty Sports Machine, at A1 Forever, Chris Tip Moore, we ask you kindly to go ahead and subscribe to an up and coming channel that's coming very soon, and it's going to be titled the 95 North Sports Machine. Here's the trailer. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Joining forces, man. And we're just gonna, continue rocking it, man. Giving you this good content, man. These great collaborations with all these up and coming Atlanta Falcons content creators and special guests, like we just saw, Joe Patrick. And who knows, man? John Abraham might make a stop by again. Todd McClure might make another stop by again. Some guys that you've seen here on the past on the 95 North Sports Machine. Just
we finna turn it up.
Collabs like that, man.
Turn it up a notch. That's all we finna do is turn it up a notch. We
Crank
bring
up
y'all
the heat.
dope
Yes,
content, and we
yes.
just gonna, we gonna put some heat on y'all, man. We gonna raise the bar just a little bit,
In football terms, we're gonna put some fire under their ass. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, man. Let me, and just to talk a little bit more about the channel. RJ ATL for Life, also a member, so you can also check him out. He's going to be joining the platform as well. He's the exclusive Braves content creator for us. Chris Tipmore also going to be helping out in that. I'll be chiming in from time to time. I know Smitty will too. As you already know, and everybody was privileged to see in the month of June how much work Smitty and Chris put in with so many legendary sportscasters of the Atlanta Hawks. So look forward to more news coming out with them two gentlemen. I can't say too much.
That's all him. That guy right there. That's all him.
Yeah.
Hey man.
Hey, he missed Atlanta Hawks. That's all him.
That's right.
That's right. As a unit, y'all.
Yes, sir. So, and then of course, you're gonna get, the preview still on Tuesday nights at 8:00.
Post game on Sundays.
And the post game on Sundays. So yeah, man, it's gonna be some good stuff coming up from the
you never know. We may do some pop-up shows too. So hey,
that's a possibility.
Hey, we gonna turn it up.
Man, I just can't wait, man. It's been really great collaborating with you guys and expanding.
What we need y'all to do, as soon as we drop that channel, we need y'all to share as much as y'all can on YouTube, share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it on anything that you can think of, because that is the page that you're going to help us grow and get all the way out there, like I always say, into the YouTube universe. That is going to be the page that catapults us to greatness. Because that page, all of us are going to put in the work to make that page great.
100%, man. 100%. But with that, man, Chris, you want to add anything else before we roll out?
Just
only that. Oh, Lord.
Poor kid. Okay.
All I want to say is, y'all, I'm saying it right now before training camp even officially starts. I expect Zach Harrison to wreck shit. I expect Zach Harrison to be one of our best, if not the best, defensive lineman this year. The man, he plays clean. Do y'all know that Zach Robinson did not commit a penalty at all last year? Nope. Not one penalty. I'm talking about not even anything that was called back, none of that stuff like that. I've already looked. The man had not one penalty. The man plays clean. He keeps his feet. He stays, it's a last
He freeze up.
I think he has some little technical difficulties. But of course, Chris is known to be a preacher.
Yeah.
There he is. He's back with us. Go ahead and
get that
preach.
internet together.
Nah, man, I got a storm going on out here. So I ain't
Yeah. You right.
True.
You right. I let that one slide. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, seriously,
the tree shaking real hard. Go ahead.
Zach Harrison, he's going to be one of the best, man. He checks gaps, establishes containment, uses his power, dips his pads low. He does everything the right way, man. Uses his length and his size. Hey, Zach Harrison is going to be the shit this year. Watch it.
You know something, Smith? There's a lot of D-line talk. I think it's safe to say that's probably going to be our next camp breakdown is the defensive line.
Just for them, man, because they was in the chat, man. They was going crazy over the defensive line. So
Absolutely,
that's what we're gonna do, man.
Do
we're gonna rack it up and we're gonna get y'all defensive line camp battle next, because it seems like that's what y'all waiting on, and that's what y'all want to talk about. So we'll see what we can work on, see can we get our boy to come through to talk defensive line with us.
Yes, sir.
I know Chuck Smith probably busy, so can't get him on.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's busy shaping up those guys up there in Baltimore.
Baltimore, right?
Yeah. Smitty, anything you want to add before we hit the road?
The juice is loose. Nah, I don't want to add nothing.
Man, he's getting all over you.
Really though, man. Like I said, man, about the new channel that's coming, man. I'm super excited about it. We behind the scenes working on it very hard, but hey, we're gonna put in all of our we're gonna utilize every outlet that we have, man, to make that channel a success. Y'all see what we doing on this channel right here, bringing everybody channel to this one platform. So now we're gonna have that platform, and it's gonna bring all our talents to the surface, man. Because like I said, man, we talk every day. So anything that y'all see on this channel, we've been talking about it for a while. That's just how we do. So when you put all of that into one, hey, that's a championship team, man.
Let's do it. Yeah. Man. Well, it's come to that time, man. So we're going to be giving you your Tuesday evening back. We thank you for joining us on this Tuesday evening, 8 o'clock prime time. Like always, we look forward to our defensive line breakdown next Tuesday at 8 o'clock. You never know who the guest is going to be because we have a slew of them. We just got to slot them in correctly, man. So thank you for everybody that's reached out to collaborate. And we look forward to getting that opportunity. For Chris, Smitty, I'm your boy Berto, man. We'll catch you all next week at 8 o'clock or a pop-up show, as Smitty says, man. So until then, peace.